to the National Union of Public Workers and the union movement as a whole. He says there must be a compromise to protect the social and economic stability of the country. This is his reaction to recent national protests led by the NUPW over the retirement of workers 60 years and over from the Barbados Investment and Development Corporation. Prime Minister Stewart says while the union has a responsibility to protect the rights of workers, it also has a responsibility to the country where matters of national interests are at stake.
But when the national interest becomes the issue, then it is my view that we have to step back, search for the compromises, and ensure that the social stability of Barbados is not undermined.
Prime Minister Stewart also made a reference to the current situation involving the Sanitation Service Authority, where SSA workers joined the NUPW industrial action, leading to a halt in garbage collection for days. He reminds the union that allowing the current industrial turbulence to persist could severely hurt the country's development.
Not so easy though, Mr. Speaker, is it going to be to put back together the values, the principles, the protocols, the procedures to which we've all grown accustomed if we allow those principles and procedures and values and so on that have defined our industrial relations process to be destroyed. It is not as easy to put those things back together as it is to resume work and go and pick up garbage that has been laying around the streets.
Prime Minister Stewart made the comments in his contribution to a debate on a resolution reminding Parliament about the 1937 riots in Barbados. Environment Minister Dr. Dennis Lowe has revealed consideration is being given to making the Sanitation Service Authority an essential service. That would mean SSA workers will not be able to participate in industrial action. Dr. Lowe says the move may be necessary to safeguard the health and wellness of the nation. His reaction came on CBC's call-in program Talk Your Talk on Q100.7 FM in light of recent national protests led by the NUPW, which was supported by SSA workers. The action contributed to a pileup of garbage across the country.
We acknowledge that we've had challenges over the last several years. We're working through those challenges. We are putting some reforms in place. We are putting new vehicles in place. All of these things are happening. But as the Honorable Prime Minister said, you can't put new wine in old skins. And while some people may have narrowly interpreted that, I would more broadly interpret it to mean that if we are going to put new systems in place, if we're going to put new equipment in place, we have to find new systems that are more efficient and that work well within the context of a developing country to achieve sustainable development.
Mass confusion. That's how the NUPW is describing the decision by the SSA not to pay workers who took part in recent national protests. The Environment Minister made the announcement yesterday, saying the union would have to foot the bill for SSA workers who were off the job during that period of industrial action. But NUPW President Akani McDowell says the union will be presenting evidence to SSA management showing they're still docking the pay of some workers who actually reported for duty.
If an officer did not go to work, and that is if the officer did not call in sick, or if he was not registered in the book when he went to work, or was not registered in the book, then we would be fair and say, well, look, that officer should not be paid. And then that would be something that we would have to handle from a union's perspective. But if an officer went to work, that means the officer would have gone into work, either punched in or registered in the book that they are at work. Then that officer should be paid.
Coast Guard and police are combing the waters off Paragon and Long Bay, Christchurch, trying to locate an 18-year-old from the area. Missing is Devon Prescott of Fairy Valley. He went fishing alone yesterday morning and has not returned. It is suspected that the boy may have fallen off a 20-foot cliff in the area. But family, friends and the police are still holding out hope that Devon can be found alive. The search started late last night. Today, friends and neighbors from the community joined the search party. CBC understands police have so far found Devon's bag, his bucket and fishing rod. In other news, police are awaiting a post-mortem to determine the exact cause of death of an elderly man from St. George. Just after midnight, 61-year-old Ian Walters died while behind the wheel of his vehicle on Black Rock Main Road, St. Michael. According to police, the Dash Valley resident was driving towards Eagle Hall when his vehicle drifted off the road, hitting several garbage cans. It then came to a stop on the left side of the road. A passerby then called emergency services. Walters was, however, pronounced dead at the scene by paramedics. If Barbados is to have a more efficient approach to the fight against chronic non-communicable diseases, there must be better health care research. This is the view of Health Minister John Boyce. He was speaking at a forum held at the U.S.-based National Institute of Health titled Improving Chronic Disease in the Caribbean through evidence-based behavioral and social interventions. The forum held at the Hilton Hotel catered to researchers, doctors, nurses, students, and workers in the ministries of health from 8 Caribbean countries. Minister Boyce says his ministry remains aggressive in the fight against chronic diseases with the support of research and surveillance. It's for this reason, he says, that 18% of the healthcare budget has been allocated to strengthening research capabilities in accordance with international best practices.
For too long, there has been concern about the lack of adequate data and information to guide financial, human resource and social policies. Policymakers need to make evidence-based decisions which lead to policy formulation and the implementation of practical programs that enable citizens to make healthy choices and to live productive lives.
Mr. Boyce says risk factor surveys will also be conducted every 5 years on smoking, diet, and the physical activities of Barbadians. This is all in an effort to better understand how their daily practices affect their health. Representative for the Inter-American Institute for Cooperation on Agriculture, Ina Harvey, says Caribbean food security has to meet U.S. standards if the region is to effectively compete on international markets. Ms. Harvey says visitors must be able to get the same quality of foods locally as they do in the U.S.
The U.S. export market is right here. Our testing ground is right here in our domestic market. Visitors expect similar food safety standards to what they're accustomed in their home market. And the products which they would buy, like your pepper sauces, your seasonings, your sauces, and take back to their home market, have to meet the U.S. import market requirements. That's the engine that's going to pull your train for your exports.
A 3-day workshop is being held at the Lloyd Erskine Sandifer Center, where Barbadian exporters are becoming more familiar with the United States Food Security Modernization Act. The workshop is designed by ICA to help companies better understand how they need to comply with the new and proposed export requirements for the U.S. Minister of Industry, International Business and Small Business Development, Donville Innes, says local producers should not take opportunities like these for granted.
But we must continue in this part of the region to grab hold of all of the opportunities that present themselves for our farmers and for us others involved in the agricultural sector to continue to be retooled and retrained to provide the best possible products at the most economical cost.
The Barbados Water Authority says residents and businesses in Warrens, Huddersfield-Turner and surrounding areas could experience outages or low pressure today. It's a result of the technicians preparing for installation of the BWA's variable frequency drives. The Waterford pumping station was offline as a result from 9 this morning and will remain offline until 3 this afternoon. Customers are being advised to store adequate amounts of water during this period. We'll take a break here and come back with more news in just a moment.